Hello friends, myself Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure. Today in my present video, I am going to discuss about the types of questions in the probing questioning skills of micro teaching. Questioning is the indispensable element of classroom communication. Effective questioning is a powerful learned skill. A question is any sentence which has an interrogative form or function. In classroom setting, teacher questions are defined as instructional cues or stimuli that convey to student the content elements to be learned and directions for what they are to do and how they are to do it. Questioning skill stimulates thinking of the students and hence has significant contribution in classroom teaching. Questioning can achieve its purpose if they are of higher quality rather than quantity. A question which can stimulate the student for relevant thinking is a good question. Formulation of good question is a difficult task which can be mastered through conscious and repeated efforts. Based on the thinking process required to answer the classroom questions have been classified into different levels. Types of questions. Research on the questions teachers ask show that about 60% require only recall of facts. 20% questions require students to think and 20% are procedural. Classification of questions on the basis of mental processes. First classification of question. RISC has divided the questions into two classes. Memory questions. In answering memory questions, memory is much used. They are used to test the previous knowledge of the students and to revise their acquired knowledge. Without thinking, the learned knowledge cannot be memorized, and without memory, it is difficult to answer thought questions, if not impossible. The memory questions generally start with how, when, who, how many. Example, who was the father of Mrs. Indira Gandhi? When did China attack India? Thought questions. For answering the thought questions, much is to be thought. Thought questions are those in which the student answer with the help of ideas, power of imagination and reasoning. In answering memory questions, thinking is necessary, and to answer thought question, help of memory is to be sought. Why mangoes do not grow in England? Why did Pakistan invade India? Second classification of questions. RISC has divided the questions into following two classes. Training questions. Those questions are called training questions with the help of which the students are motivated to derive the results by imagination, thinking and reasoning so that they may acquire the new knowledge conveniently. In this way, various mental processes of students are stimulated and new knowledge is disseminated. What steps should be taken to grow more grains in India? Testing questions. The testing questions are those which test the knowledge and memory of the students. Through these questions, teachers come to know whether their teaching is successful or not. If it is successful, then up to what limit? They also test students' previous knowledge and achievement and their mastery on the subject. Explaining the function of an air pump. Name the person who climbed Mount Everest for the first time. Thus, thought or training question develop imaginative and thinking power of the students, and memory or testing questions develop memory. Classification of questions according to memory. Memory questions are of two kinds. Factual questions. Factual questions ask for recall of specific memorized information or experience. They often begin with who, what or where. What is soil erosion? Where have you observed it? Descriptive questions. Descriptive questions are more complicated and usually require long answers, but they are still answerable from memory. Can you describe the process of soil erosion? Classification of questions according to levels. There are two levels of questions. Low level questions. Low level questions refer to questions that require one to recall information that has been registered in memory. Low level questions operate on the level of knowledge, drawing from one's knowledge base of a subject. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. High level questions. High level questions encompass questions that require one to process information rather than simply recall it. High-level questions operate on one's ability to comprehend, apply, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information. High-level questions may be further divided into two types. Description questions. Description questions require that one observe or describe an object using illustration, demonstration, maps, graphs, or tables. For example, what do you notice here? Describe the object in front of you. Comparison questions require that one examines two or more objects or ideas and use statements or illustration to identify similarities and differences. These are very effective high-level questions because they encourage students to process information in different ways. Classification of questions according to the number of answers they generate. Convergent questions. Questions are convergent, meaning there is only one correct answer. Convergent questions are sometimes called objective questions. These questions are usually within a finite range of acceptable accuracy. These may be at several different levels of cognition, such as comprehension, application, analysis, or one where the answer make inferences or conjectures based on personal experiences or on materials read, presented, or known. Divergent questions. Divergent questions have more than one appropriate answer. They are open-ended and require students to explore the unknown, to think creatively. Divergent questions are asked to test a student's high level of thinking and imagination. Such questions encourage plurality of thinking and exploration of a number of alternatives, and they require both concrete and abstract thinking to arrive at complex responses. The process may be more uncomfortable for teachers than for students because one cannot classify the answer as right or wrong. They are referred to as subjective questions. For example, what do you think might be the consequences of the publication of the ranking of schools? How might you use this plant to help you survive in the wilderness? Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.